Welcome back, Mr. Disney.
Are the Jews gone yet?
No.
Put me back in.
Hey everybody, welcome to Studio 64. My name's David, and I've been searching the interzones for some more science, space, and tech news to share with you, and I came across this at Australia's ABC. Yes, the Southern Hemisphere's first cryogenically frozen client at rest in regional New South Wales facility. Absolutely amazing. What interesting, actually. In short, a cryogenics company has frozen its first client in Australia in the hope of bringing him back to life in the future. Now, the client, a man in his 80s, died in Sydney before being frozen at minus 200 degrees Celsius at a Holbrook facility. Right, so what's next? The Cryonics facility is expecting higher demand as membership base ages, although it's still unknown whether anyone preserved this way can ever be revived. Well, you never know. Work for Star Trek and Family Guy. Yes, and if you're wondering what the intro clip was in reference to, Walt Disney was a real Nazi. Yes, he was a great big admirer of Hitler during the Second World War. And as soon as America came out on the against Hitler, the opposite side, he immediately started writing very large checks to a lot of Jewish people in New York, allegedly, to have them say nice things about him. Allegedly. Yes. All allegedly. Yes. Must see the Family Guy references. Philip Rhodes has spent 14 years waiting to give dead people a second chance at life. Those years of preparation have finally been put to the test. Southern Cryonics, which operates the Southern Hemisphere's first known cryonics facility, has just announced it has cryogenically frozen its first client at its Holbrook facility. A Sydney man who died this month in his 80s has become what the company refers to as Patient 1. The company said it was a Southern Hemisphere first and a complex process that had Mr. Rhodes losing sleep. It was very stressful, Southern Cryonics facility manager said. I'm not surprised. Yes, and there he is there. Philip Rhodes visited the Holbrook site while it was being under construction in the hope of finally suspending people on site. Yes, well, they're doing it now. It's excellent. I think that's what I'd like to do with me. Yes, so problem is, though, I think that if they did a big freezer for my backside, but anyway, if they froze me and woke me up in 300 years, 500 years, 1,000 years' time, somehow I don't think I would be surprised. I think our civilization, if it hadn't destroyed itself, would have turned into even more of a clown world than it is now. And I'm thinking that that 2005 movie, was it 2005 Idiocracy, would be, considered, out of date. Fascinating.
At the dawn of the 21st century, the Army began a top-secret experiment.
Meet Joe Bowers, our first subject for the human hibernation experiment. As you know, this is highly classified. However, if successful, we believe humans can be stored indefinitely.
However, the trial run was prone to human error.
See you in a year.
And Joe slept slightly longer than expected. Half a millennium, to be exact. From Mike Judge, creator of Office Space and Beavis and Butthead.
Oh my God!
If you were the smartest person in the world...
This goes in your mouth. This one goes in your butt. Hang on a second. This one goes in your mouth.
And we're stuck with the dumbest people in history.
If you have one bucket that holds 2 gallons and another bucket that holds 5 gallons, how many buckets do you have?
2?
What would you do?
Excuse me, I'm actually supposed to be getting out of prison.
You're in the wrong line.
I'm the smartest guy in the world? Says who?
The IQ test you took in prison. You got the highest score in history.
Even smarter than President Camacho.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of America!
In the year 2505,
We got this guy. He's gonna fix everything. So you smart, huh?
the ordinary will be considered extraordinary.
I thought your head would be bigger.
Idiocracy.
For the smartest guy in the world, you're pretty dumb sometimes.
That was what was keeping me awake for a week, because there are a number of different procedures to go through for different days. And there are a number of situations that might have gone wrong if we hadn't prepared properly. Welcoming the first client. The Southern Cryonics team has been ready and preparing to accept bodies from this year, but their first client was slightly unexpected. There are a couple of other people who are existing members who we thought might be likely candidates for being the first, but as it turned out, it was someone who wasn't an existing member, Mr. Rhodes said. Oh, interesting. Yeah, liquid nitrogen. Liquid nitrogen, if I can get my finger that's operating on half a Biden today to highlight that properly for you. Yeah, liquid nitrogen tank into the facility. Fascinating. Anybody, I'm not a scientist myself, anybody knows more about current cryogenics or the processes behind cryogenics, please let me know. I do remember I had problems in the past with when you froze human bodies and moisture crystals would freeze and it would damage muscle tissue and brains and everything else. Have they got over that yet? Don't know. Interesting. Maybe it's something that doesn't really matter in the future. They can fix it. But again, anyone knows more about it, please feel free to comment. Love to hear from you. His family rang up out of the blue and we had about a week to prepare and get organised. Mr. Rhodes said the team had tested all the cryonics equipment and were mostly prepared. But it's still a little bit different when you're doing a real case, he said, preparing for life after death. The first client died in the morning of May 12, 2024 at a hospital in inner Sydney. The 10-hour process of preserving his body in the hope of it being brought back to life immediately. Yeah, very, very interesting indeed. Absolutely and utterly fascinating. All right, there's a little video here. I think we'll have a quick look at that, and then I'll see you when we come out the other side.
It's a question Hollywood has been asking for decades.
It's perfectly normal to feel confused.
And now a group of forward-thinking Australians are getting in on the act.
The way science and that are today, just ask yourself, why should you die?
They've signed on to be frozen after they die, in the hope one day they'll be brought back to life.
The more time you can spend with your family and friends, if it's possible, why wouldn't you take that chance?
Ron Fielding had planned to move to the United States to prepare for his frozen post-life. But now he may be able to stay closer to home, with work underway on Australia's first cryonic storage facility in Holbrook, about halfway between Sydney and Melbourne.
This is exciting for me to keep Dad here and with us here in Australia, and obviously for me, that if one day we can be together again, then so that'd be fantastic.
27 people have paid $50,000 each to be stored here using techniques developed in the US. When they die, they'll be slowly cooled, and the water in their cells will be replaced with a kind of human antifreeze before they're frozen at minus 196 degrees Celsius. The technology to put a body into a state of suspension is already here. Now it's just a wait for those who choose to be frozen on scientists to work out how to bring them back to life.
With things like the Human Genome Project and stem cell therapy and all sorts of other amazing technological advances, people are starting to think that anything might be possible.
If all goes to plan, the facility could be ready to freeze its first customer by the end of the year. Erin Somerville, ABC News, Holbrook.
Well, that's very, very interesting, isn't it? Cryogenics in Australia. It's probably obviously all over the world too, but just to see our first, so to speak. Yes, I could make comments about popping our frozen cherry or something like that, but I won't do that because that'd be too tasteless. All right, well, my name is David. Thanks for joining me for another Studio 64 Science, Space and Tech News update. I shall see you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you're up for it, drop a comment down below the video because I'd love to hear what you think. All right, take care. And as I always say, if you can't be good at it. And as I also always say,
I'll be back.